This be the addiction of the future. These small pouches of nicotine, flavorings and filler are sweeping across the world, with sales increasing by nearly 80% in the past year alone. It's a craze that's been fueled by social media, with everyone from the biggest celebrities to random people promoting them online. The advantages seem endless to smokers. They're far less harmful than tobacco, easily concealed, and they don't make any smoke or vapor. With big tobacco monopolizing the market and ramping up production, it doesn't look like there's any way to stop this new addiction taking root. So let's explore how Zyn is taking over the world by storm, and what the sinister consequences of this could be. As when you start peeling back the truth, you realize how dangerous this might be. The rise of Zyn in Sweden would create the template for a global campaign of addiction. But first, we need to understand where they came from in the first place. Despite the fact that they seemingly appeared out of nowhere, Zyn and other nicotine pouches aren't exactly a new thing. It has its roots in a tobacco product called snus, which has been consumed around the world for hundreds of years.
I thought it was called snooze? I thought it was snus? I don't even think it's called that. I don't know what it's called.
Its spiritual home though is in Sweden, where centuries of tradition has seen it outcompete smoking tobacco as the most popular method of consumption. Back in the day, people would take a small pinch of this specially made powdered tobacco and keep it under their lips as it slowly released nicotine. Beginning in the 1970s, manufacturers like Swedish Match took control of the market by offering the tobacco portioned into a small sachet, each with a controlled dose of the drug. A few decades later, when the technology to extract pure nicotine from tobacco was perfected, the entire industry was thrown on his head. By 2006, the first vapes had entered the US, and it wasn't long before they were everywhere. A few years later, and you can't walk 10 feet without seeing someone hit the device or smelling the sickly sweet clouds drifting by. With their apparent health benefits compared to tobacco, it wouldn't have been a big leap to expect vaping to replace tobacco smoking entirely. But the arrival of Zyn has led people to ask whether vapes were just another stepping stone on the path to perfecting the addiction. In Sweden, it's been a different story. Through pervasive anti-smoking campaigns, as well as a cultural appetite for other methods, the country almost eliminated tobacco and other nicotine products from their country. Strong laws against marketing the products kept big tobacco from fighting back. People hoped that as the other ways to consume it slowly died out, that Sweden would become the first country to actually kill the nicotine habit for good. That was until Swedish Match found their ideal product. As the largest Swedish tobacco company, a nicotine-free Sweden.
Meet Waterpik Sense.
Swedish Match. I thought it was Pall Mall. It's not. It's Swedish Match. Now, but they got bought out by someone, right? And I'm jumping ahead.
Their business. So when so-called white snus came along, it was a godsend for them. By taking that pure nicotine and replacing the tobacco with it, they could make a seemingly harmless alternative that could take the market by storm. These new products launched in 2016, and Swedish Match were quick to take advantage. While laws prohibited marketing tobacco products and vapes, white snus seemed to be free of these restrictions.
That's how I see it.
Now, marketing has always been an easy game for tobacco companies. Other companies whose products aren't chemically addictive have to constantly prove their worth to the consumer. If someone else offers a better alternative or the customer simply doesn't want it anymore, then you're out of luck. But that's not true for nicotine though. Just a few tastes or a week or two of habit forming and they've got you for life. Once addiction sets in, the product sells itself, and the nature of addiction means nicotine customers are unusually loyal to their chosen brand. This is why when tobacco companies are allowed to advertise, they almost exclusively target new smokers. Each marketing campaign is that much more effective because each person who convinces is likely to become a lifelong customer whether they like it or not. Swedish Match and their competitors went straight to work advertising their new product to the young and impressionable. Companies would give the product out for free to lure in new users, putting out internet ads that would send people free pouches with just a few clicks. Or they do it in person, staking out places where young people would gather. That can mean at conventions, festivals, or even more disturbingly, outside playgrounds.
I thought it looked good, and I wanted to try. I just kept going. Keep going. And it's hard to stop. I'm kind of stuck.
And the results were quick. With the marketing beginning in 2017, it only...
That sucks, man. I would hate to, like, okay, I want to quit something, but I can't quit it or whatever. Right? That would suck.
It took 3 years for the use of snus to overtake smoking in young people. Decades of progress in stopping the use of nicotine were reversed almost overnight, with tons of young people taking up this new addiction. Swedish Match, who had the most money to throw around, were very well positioned to corner the market, buying out competitors and securing basically a monopoly. You can see why nicotine pouches might be appealing to young people. Smoking and vaping are far less discreet. The smell can give it away easily, you can't do it in front of people without them noticing, and everyone has the image of smoking with cancer. Whereas products like Zyn are almost invisible on the other hand, meaning kids can indulge in their new habits all day without having to sneak off to the bathrooms every half hour. Combined with the fact that they were easy to get and easy to use compared to the alternatives, it made their popularity inevitable, and people would have no idea about how truly bad this was like they do about smoking cigarettes. And that's
to a lower risk of mouth cancer, heart disease, lung cancer, stroke, and chronic bronchitis. That's good.
That's why Big Tobacco was quick to notice this massive opportunity to afflict even more people with an addiction to their product. They've never cared what form the nicotine they sell comes in, as long as it's addictive. They've only ever cared about creating new, lifelong customers. So when white snus spread across Sweden like a wildfire, they noticed.
At first, Swedish Match made their operation international. The product had been imported and sold in small numbers a year earlier, but in 2017 they began a nationwide rollout in the US. It wasn't cheap to even make the stuff in the US. They needed to upgrade and pretty much rebuild one of their factories in the country, a project that would cost over $100 million. But once you start adding up the numbers, you can see why they did this. Each can of Zyn, a container which holds 15 of the pouches, costs about $4, but heavy users could easily go through a can every 2 days, all year round. And this really adds up. In 2017 alone, the year they were introduced, Swedish Match sold over 13 million cans of Zyn, and the other brands outside of Scandinavia. A year later, as more people were introduced to it and got addicted, this nearly doubled to 25 million. The scale of growth was truly insane, but it got even crazier. By September of 2019, they were selling 20 million pouches, or around 1.3 million cans every single month in the US alone. Once the factory finally opened that same year, they started selling even more, and by 2022, sales had gone up by 700%. Zyn continued to dominate the market for these products, never losing the over 50% market share lead they had taken earlier over the competition, which is why the brand had exploded in growth and seemingly came out of nowhere. Now, while Swedish Match might be over 100 years old, these were the kind of growth numbers that only the most successful tech startups see. So just like any other startup, once they had the product and the market controlled, they sold it all off. And who better to step in than the masters of addiction themselves, the largest tobacco company in the world, Philip Morris. In late 2022, they bought out Swedish Match in their entire
Not Pall Mall, Philip Morris. Okay, PM, I had it. Pall Mall, what is that from? Is that like a type of cigarette?
for an eye-watering $16 billion.
16 billion?
But the only thing they were really interested in was Zyn, and this deal might end up being one of the most lucrative deals ever made. If Zyn and other nicotine pouches keep growing as fast as they are, they'll replace vaping and eventually cigarettes. You see, Philip Morris could see that cigarettes and vaping were becoming outdated. Nobody in Gen Z really wanted to do this stuff anymore. There were so many regulations, you couldn't advertise properly, all the reporting on the health consequences, the popcorn lungs, the lung cancer, they needed something to pivot fast with. Which is why Philip Morris didn't just buy 51% of the company, it was a complete buyout of every single share. They wanted it all, and you can easily see why. With that dominant market share, Philip Morris doesn't really need to do anything. With how heavily controlled traditional advertising is for nicotine and tobacco products, there isn't any danger of someone else taking the throne. Addiction makes people take the easiest route possible to get that fix, so if they know the brand, then they'll buy it. It means this deal could give Philip Morris an almost complete monopoly over nicotine products, stretching far into the future. Of course, that'll only be true if Zyn and other nicotine pouches really catch on. But what's making them so much more popular than vaping or smoking? Ever since they finally couldn't cover up the dangers of tobacco, the health effects have been the Achilles heel of the tobacco industry. They don't care about the actual suffering, of course, it's the optics and the appearance of selling an addictive, deadly product that hurt them. But Zyn, so far at least, seems like the least harmful alternative. Old-fashioned snus and other products with actual tobacco in them cause cancer. They're terrible for your health. But as far as we know, Zyn doesn't do this. The fact that unlike with vaping you don't actually inhale anything makes it at least marginally healthier. And while it might
Yeah, but you know what I'm worried about? This little,
not kill you,
like this little outside part right here. Right, what is that? What is that wrapped in? What is the, yeah, what is that? Is that like it gonna affect me? Or something? Because little like strands, a little like fabric on there and shit. I don't know about that. I don't like that.
it can ruin your day if you use it.
Or the plastic can that it's in. I don't like this either, because every time I pop it off, I don't know. I don't like plastic that much. Every time I pop it off, I feel like a little piece of plastic is gonna go in, and then I'm gonna put it in my mouth, and then the little piece of plastic gonna end up in my nuts or something.
Incorrectly. People who've let them sit on their tongue have reported being knocked out for the entire day or feeling incredibly sick from the nicotine overdose. But to be clear, the negative health effects are the same as any other nicotine product. We don't know the long-term effects, of course, but it seems like it would at least affect the gums, for example. Leaking chemicals through a specific place in your mouth all day, every day surely can't be healthy. And it's also a highly addictive substance that can mess with your blood pressure and is a known carcinogenic. But there's no clear reason that it will be any more harmful than some of
What's the carcinogenic? Just the nicotine itself is carcinogenic?
the government-approved alternatives like nicotine gum. And the benefits are clear, even in the worst.
Wait, nicotine gum?
More harmful than some of the government-approved alternatives like nicotine gum.
It's not as harmful as that? Well, how much? 2 milligrams of nicotine gum? Give me a 6, give me an 8, give me a 10. Come on. Let me have some fun.
Oh, and the benefits are clear. Even in the worst possible case, it's far less harmful than smoking is. In a perfect world, Zyn could save a ton of lives by helping people quit smoking. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. It isn't Zyn itself that's the problem. Some people are always going to use nicotine in some way. And that's not to say we should ban it. We shouldn't control what adults want to do with their lives. And so far, Zyn seems like one of the safest options. But it's the way that it's being pushed onto younger people and the damage this is doing to society in the future that's the real problem. Thanks to Zyn, tons of people are getting more and more addicted to nicotine. And as time has gone on, the sales of the highest concentration pouches have risen much faster than the others. It shows people are needing more and more to satisfy their cravings. Moving on to the stronger stuff as this happens. It isn't just ex-smokers using this as a safer alternative and to eventually cut down. It's becoming its own addiction. This is the danger. Not smokers using them as a replacement, but people who've never had any kind of nicotine getting addicted to them. One of the ways this happens is through their cultural buzz. If your friends are all trying them and there's peer pressure to try them, lots of kids are going to cave in and try it. The pressure doesn't just come from in person, a lot of it is online.
Truth is, Zyn is a powerful work enhancer and also a male enhancer, if you know what I mean.
Really?
Yeah.
Talking erection, huh?
If I'm gonna have sex with, you know what? No, if I'm gonna be jerking off, and I have a Zyn in my mouth, right? Disgusting. I don't know who the fuck does that. Take it out of your mouth, dude. You.
Huh?
Don't. You're gonna say it's a sexual enhancer. No one wants to. No one wants to be a foot away from you and you breathing on. Oh, honey, is that wintergreen? Yeah, new pack. Fuck.
Like pretty much anything, Zyn has its own community of influencers on TikTok whose whole online personalities revolve around them. It's a mixed bag of your bog standard embarrassing TikTok content. There's plenty of videos of people just popping them or in general talking about them.
Oh, there we go. Oh, it's like a twister. What?
But a lot of the time the content is talking about upping the dosage and almost competing over how much you can take, with a bunch of people talking about taking multiples at a time. Then there's the so-called Zynfluencer showing off their massive collection of MD Zyn containers. There isn't any indication that these are sponsored posts, but Philip Morris, the tobacco giant who now owns Zyn, has done it before. They came under fire as recently as 5 years ago for paying young influencers to promote their addictive products. The idea isn't to outright sell them, but to show them alongside influencers. Along with the online buzz has come claims about how Zyns can help you focus, or help to make you sharp for work and studying. And there is some truth to this. Nicotine has been shown to increase the levels of some neurotransmitters like dopamine, which has a very beneficial effect on brain function. Anyone who's tried nicotine can attest to the buzz you get the first few times as well. It's almost similar to caffeine, which is also an incredibly addictive drug. But one part of why nicotine is so addictive is that the buzz quickly fades, with people barely feeling anything after just a few weeks of regular use. It very quickly becomes a matter of just taking it to feel normal, rather than getting any sort of effect from it. The only way you can do that
I like Zyn. I do them. every time I put in like if I want to put in a 6 milligram, which is something that I usually don't do, every single time I put one in, it's like it's gonna like almost make me sick. Like that's how much of a buzz you're gonna get from it. So if you stick with the 3 milligrams, I feel like it's really not that bad, and I don't feel like it's that addictive. You can take a few hours off of it and put another one in or whatever, right? Like, but also don't do something that you're not ready to have an addiction to, right? Like if you know that this thing is going to give you an addiction and you don't you don't want to go through that or whatever, I probably wouldn't do it, but like, I don't think it's that bad.
That is by increasing the
But I have noticed that like sometimes in my gums, they'll start like, I've had to like stop recently as much as I do, because my gums are like, sometimes they'll have ulcers in them from where like I switch it around, or where it's like laying on my, the back of my gum or whatever. So I have noticed that, and I just switch it around like throughout the day, or like just through this video, like you can just switch it around where your gum's at, so it's not gonna fuck up one area, let it fuck up all the areas,
the dosage. Kids taking these things to get a buzz quickly have to take stronger pouches, often lots of them at one time, just to get that buzz again. Zyn and other pouches put nicotine straight into the bloodstream, so people who use them can quickly build up a massive tolerance to nicotine without ever even knowing it. If they ever try to stop, it makes the withdrawals that much worse, and if they switch to vaping or cigarettes, they'll need far more of them to get the same effect. This is just another hidden danger of Zyn and other nicotine pouches. We've already seen through studies that if people start vaping without any prior nicotine use, they're 3 times more likely to take up smoking than other non-smokers. And we can expect that Zyn has pretty similar effects because the active chemicals are completely identical. All of the worrying about just how harmful they are misses the bigger picture though. We're currently watching as Big Tobacco, which was losing customers every day for decades, it's once again getting its claws into the next generation. And it's really working. Big Tobacco is creating a whole new generation of addicts, making nicotine popular once again, risking the health, increasing the chances of cancer, and other fatal illnesses by getting Generation Z hooked on the stuff. It's just going to add on to the long list of addictions that Gen Z and Gen Alpha have been exposed to at a very young age. At least with smoking, it's pretty inconvenient to do it all of the time. Only the heavier smokers would be puffing away all day. But because of how Zyn works, it means kids can be walking around with invisible nicotine IV stuck in their arm all day, massively raising their risks of heart attacks and cancer. Just slowly poisoning.
Wait, massive risk of heart attack? A massive risk of heart attack?
you day by day and making it
How
seem
massive?
cool with nice branding and a whole bunch of influencers promoting it. Just like the phones, it's created a world where people can constantly be feeding their addictions. We've already seen what this is doing to young people's attention spans and their general mental well-being. Kids already can't focus in class anymore. Teachers constantly talk about how each new year is worse than the last, and adding Zyn into the mix makes each new generation the heaviest addicts history has ever seen, all whilst destroying their mental and physical health, with one of the most infamous toxic substances becoming mainstream once again. The tragedy is that once you get addicted to nicotine, it pretty much lasts forever. The chemical need actually fades in a few weeks after you stop, but the mental addiction never goes away. You always know it's there, just waiting for you, but you have to ignore it. It does get easier with time, but it never really leaves. However clean or convenient they can package nicotine, it's still one of the most addictive, carcinogenic, toxic chemicals known to man. And whilst we may not know the exact effects of Zyns, all we can see is that it's addicting people to nicotine. And the societal harm of having a whole generation of addicts isn't something that we can measure. Making nicotine mainstream once again is a terrible sign of where we're headed. And with the explosive growth of Zyn and the snail's pace of actual regulation, this is going to be a major problem that we'll have to deal with soon.
Heart attacks. Hey, I'm good on the heart attack. I'm gonna take an hour off or something. Heart attack.